Children by Amari Islam.
Islam, part of self.
Islam. What's on there? Good things.
Islam, most.
Islam.
First, I rise giving perfect praises to the great architect of the universe, Father God Allah, giving honors to his prophet, Noble Ali, giving honors to the forerunner of the movement, Marcus Messiah Garvey. Last but not least, giving honors to all Moors in attendance and honors to Moors online. Islam?
Islam.
Gratitude. We're going to start the 101 Quran questions for children, because we're all children in the eyes of Allah. There's also the question and answer period. So if anyone wants to add on or build or have any questions pertaining to the 101s, feel free by doing so with the raising of the hand. Islam?
Islam.
1. Who made you?
Allah.
2. Who is Allah?
Allah is the Father of the universe.
3. Can we see him?
No.
4. Where's the nearest place we can meet him?
In the heart.
5. Who is Noble Ali?
He is Allah's prophet.
6. What is a prophet?
The prophet is the Lord of Allah manifested in the flesh.
7. What is the duty of a prophet?
To save nations from bad Allah.
8. Who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Noble Ali.
9. What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded?
1913 AD.
10. Where?
The word of New Jersey.
11. Where was Noble Ali born?
In the state of North Carolina, 1886.
12. What is his nationality?
Moorish American.
13. What is your nationality?
Moorish American.
14. Why are we Moorish Americans?
The descendants of Moroccans were born in America.
15. For what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded?
For the uplifting of fallen humanity.
16. How did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish American?
Teaching them to be themselves.
18. Is that a new or is that an old time religion?
Old time.
19. What kind of flag is the Moorish?
It's a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center.
20. What do the 5 points represent?
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
21. How old is our flag?
It is over 50,000 years old.
22. Which is our holy day?
Friday.
23. Why? Islam. 24. Who was Jesus?
He is the prophet of Allah.
25. Where was he born?
In Bethlehem, Judah, and the house of David.
26. Who were his father and mother?
Joseph and Mary.
27. Will you give in brief the line genealogy through which Jesus came?
Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, Joseph, our Mary.
Islam. 28. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth?
To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the Palestinian nations of Europe, who were governed a portion of Palestine at that time.
29. How long has that been?
About 2,000 years ago.
30. What was the nationality of Ruth?
Ruth was Moabitess.
31. What's the modern name for Moabites? 32. Where's the Moroccan Empire?
Northwest Messin.
33. What's the modern name for Mexico?
Africa.
34. What is the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
Islam. 35. Where did we get the name Jesus? 37. Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name?
Yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin.
38. What is an angel?
An angel is the thought of Allah manifested in human flesh.
39. What are angels used for?
To carry messages to the four corners of the world, to all nations.
40. What is our prophet to us?
He is an angel of Allah who sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah.
41. What is the everlasting gospel?
It is the saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet.
42. What is the covenant of the great God Allah?
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee.
43. At what age did Jesus begin to teach?
At the age of 12.
44. Where did he teach?
India, Africa, and Europe.
45. How long did he teach?
18 years.
46. What did Jesus say that would make you free?
Truth.
47. What is truth?
Truth is ought.
48. What is ought?
Ought is Allah.
49. Can truth change?
Truth cannot change.
50. What have you to say about holy breath? 51. What have you to say about holy breath?
All you can say is great, it's good, it was, it is, and evermore to be.
Islam. 52. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed?
The Garden of Eden,
53. Where is the Garden of Eden?
the land of Canaan, and the city of Mecca.
54. What is the modern name for the Garden of Eden?
Mecca.
55. What is the name of the first physical man?
His name cannot be used only by executive rules of the ACC.
56. What are the words of AC of the MST of A?
Adoption of the Moorish Science Temple of America, third heaven.
57. Who were Adam and Eve?
They are the mothers and fathers of the human family. H.G.S. Miles.
58. Where did they go?
They went into Asia.
59. What is the modern name given to the children?
Asiatics.
60. Who was guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep unbelievers away?
Angels.
61. What is the modern name for those angels?
Asiatics.
62. What is the shade of their skin?
Olive.
63. Are the Moorish Americans any relation to those angels?
Yes. We all have the same father and mother.
64. Give 5 names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve.
Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast.
65. What is the devil sometimes called?
The lower self.
66. How many selves are there?
2.
67. Name them.
Higher self and lower self.
68. What people represent the higher self?
The angels who protect the holy city of Mecca.
69. What people represent the lower self?
Those who are cast out of the holy city and those who accept the teaching.
70. What is the higher self?
The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life that gives justice, mercy, love, and right.
71. Can the higher self pass away?
No,
72. Why?
because it is a law and name.
73. What does the lower self breed?
Hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms.
Anyone, before I continue, anyone give me a demonstration of what does it mean to breed? What is breed? What is the definition of breed? How do we define breed? How do we view breed? What does that mean to us? What does the lower self breed? Islam, Brother Flying Go.
Islam. First I rise and I give all praises to Allah, the Father of the universe. Honors to Noble Drew Ali. Honors to the Marcus Messiah, the Harbinger. Honors to the Grand Sheikh. Honors to the Sheikhs. Honors to you. Honors to everything pertaining to Islam. Honors to everybody here.
Islam. Honors to you, Mo.
Honors to the people online.
Islam.
Breed means it's something that you are the descendant from. Like like where they have different breeds, like dogs, stuff like that. Just to fulfill an example, breed, like they have different sorts of dogs and stuff like that. So that would go into what you were saying about the sending to Adam and Eve.
Islam. Any other drawings, Brother Universal? Islam.
I want to give praises to Allah, honest, Grand Sheikh, Grand Sheikhish, honest to all members.
Islam. Honors to you, Mo.
To me, breeding is a form of extension, of continuation, formication of multiplying something from a source.
Islam.
So,
Brother Saru.
Like to rise to give perfect praise to the great architect of the universe, God Allah, and honor to the prophet and everything more.
Islam.
To breed means several things. To bring forth, I guess it's to bring forth.
Okay. So
to produce.
Islam. So that was really what I was looking for, but it's one and the same. So 73, what does the lower self produce? What does the lower self breed? What does the lower self bring forth? Right? What is the essence of the lower self? Islam? Because we understand what the essence truly mean, right? The main component, the true main nucleus of whatever the subject is, right? That's the essence of something. So what does the lower self breed? So it's like almost, it happens here. So as man thinketh, so shall it be. So these are physical things, what I'm saying, but really the lower self really started inside, right? When you thought that malice act or whatever it was that you thought, that was a lower self vibration, right? It's 75. What was the answer that the I'm sorry. 70, that's 75. What was the answer that the lower self gave to the higher self?
I'm going
Well,
to
look
for
for the earth,
seeking
seeking
whom
whom
I
I
may
may
devour.
devour.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe so. I'm sorry, family, bear with me. 74. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him?
Where are you going, Satan?
Can anyone give me an expression? What does that mean? What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? So let's get into the core of the 101s, because understanding the 101s is how we begin to understand the Quran and even understand self. So unless we can't read these questions and skip over half of the sentence or half of the question because we don't quite understand it. Islam.
Islam.
So let's dive into it. What was the answer? 74. What did the higher self say to the lower self at what time? How many cells are there?
2.
Name them.
Higher
Higher
self
self,
and
lower
lower self.
self.
Islam. What was so it's like an awakening, identity. That's really that's knowledge of self that had happened, right? Remember I demonstrated a few weeks ago. I think right, Brother Universal, I was saying how when you asked me, has he finished his task of devouring and what did that really mean?
Yeah.
And we talking about the two different vibrations of self.
Yes.
So you got two selves inside of what man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed, right? So it's a knowledge of self. So it's like an awakening because our entire life we never knew there was two selves, right? So if you think there's always one self, you live in you only most likely only living in lower self because you're not even aware of the higher self in man. Islam. So when the higher self said to the lower self when he met him, where you going? That's the self identity. Now I understand what they mean. There are two selves. I know this to be a fact. That was the awakening. Because now where's he going? Now he's going to and fro to devour, seeking whom he may devour. Why? Because I acknowledged him, right? I know he's there, and I know. And once you have acknowledged something, now you can prepare how to either defeat lower self or vibe with lower self. But you have the option to figure out what it is that you want to do. Islam.
Islam.
76. Has he finished his task of devouring?
Yes.
77. When was his time declared out?
Jesus to the cross.
78. What were the last words that Jesus uttered?
It
It
is
is
finished.
finished.
79. What did he have reference to?
Yeah, reference to the end of Satan.
Islam. And here we go back into 64. Give 5 names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve: Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. So you see how he identified who the lower self is now and the lower self actions. So the difference between higher self and lower self. 80. Did Jesus say that he would return to conquer him?
Yes.
81. What is the name of the person into whom Jesus was first reincarnated?
Prophet Muhammad, the conqueror.
Islam. So now you see again when I demonstrated last week about how spirits are all one. The prophets, Allah, right? We know not Allah, but Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius. This is all one spirit off from Allah.
Islam.
So that brought me back to 6. What is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. So now, what is a thought? Let's vibrate on that. What is a thought? What is the definition of a thought? Right? We all think and we know what a thought is, but now express it, right? Because now being able to express what vibrates inside tells that you have an understanding. So now we have to bring it out of ourselves, right? So we can digest it fully and be able to give it to someone else, right? So now we're not at a point where we know what thought is within self. Now, if someone asks us more in the street, what is thought, right? Now, this is the challenge. We have to answer these things. We should know these things, right? We can't say, oh, well, I think a thought is this, right? Then that doesn't even make sense, right? So what is a thought? Islam, Brother Tyrone, I see your hand first.
Thought is a conversation within self, between higher self and the lower.
Islam, I like that. Where the flying go?
Islam. Thought to me would be from Allah saying, I would say the thought is something that is like a manifestation,
Mm-hmm.
because I would say the thought would be naught,
Mm-hmm.
because in order for that thought to come out, Allah must have been, trying to reveal something to Allah. So like Allah was, speaking to Allah. For some reason, that's how I feel that what a thought is. That was the first manifestation when Allah just was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and the thought was what would manifest it,
Islam.
as in like the more or the mother thought,
Mm-hmm.
ma or
Okay.
M-A ma and the or being the light. So I think that the thought would be the mother or the mother light
Islam. Islam, sister.
or truth.
Get this right. Arise
Mm-hmm.
and give honor to
Praises.
Allah.
Praises to Allah.
Prophet Noble Jew Ali, I give honor. I give honor to Marcus Garvey and all our forerunners. I give honor to Sheik, Grand Sheik Nature. I give honor to the Grand Sheikess, Nika, and all the Moors that's here.
Islam.
And honor to all that is good.
Islam.
And
Honest to you. Honest to you.
A thought. Expounding on what Brother
Fine.
Bob said, a thought to me would be something that's coming from the spirit realm, because nothing exists in the physical realm without coming first from the spirit realm, which is more real than the physical realm.
Islam.
So it's just like when you think something, you hear yourself, but outside of here, y'all can't hear what I'm thinking in my mind. I can't hear what you're saying, but you can hear it.
True.
So if you can hear it, that means Allah who is in you can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get that thought and you magnify your focus on that thought, it's going to manifest
Mm-hmm.
because you're focusing, the universe is picking up on that.
Islam.
So if you have evil thoughts, it's going to make you be in your lower self and do evil things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have positive thoughts, it's going to keep you in that high vibration
Islam.
and keep you, manifest goodness to ward off evil.
Islam.
Islam.
Some good drawing. Gratitude for that. Was good, sis. And just to sum it up, for 81, a thought. I have a few definitions, but a thought is a developed plan. I'm sorry, University had a bit. You want to demonstration?
Islam. To me, a thought is a corresponding of the heart. A thought is also to my understanding, is a translation of how you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process of what spark or a communication of what's the substance of the characteristics of that source of an individual or person. Thought is truth, but how it corresponding with the heart. As per se, sometimes when I read to myself, I hear the reading, but it's only me in the room. It's quiet, but I hear the reading. So
The vibration.
yeah. So off the thoughts, it gets me thinking. I'm thinking of of the thoughts that's processing in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a continuation. It's actually a conversation in my mind of a thought that sparks because I'm thinking of of the thought that came in my mind, or the mind is the thought. So I'm actually thinking of what my mind is processing to how it operates.
Islam.
Islam.
Well, to clear this up, man is mind and mind is memory, right? So that goes back into what the sister said, how the thought originates from another realm, which is a spiritual, etherical realm, into self, right? So one of the simple definitions of thought is a developed plan, right? So what was Noble Drew Ali as a prophet of a thought of Allah manifested in flesh, right? Is a developed plan, right? Aside from that is reasoning power, right? That stuck out to me immediately. Reasoning power, because to me that's what Drew Ali brought, and that's what he represented was reasoning power, right? The power to reason, right? Because that's what we all do. If you have a thought, right? The thought really originates off of reasoning, right? That's how we have to reason, right? But the power of reasoning brings what though? Justice. It brings justice. Power of reasoning brings justice. Jesus means what?
Justice.
Y'all get where I'm going? Thought of Allah, a developed plan of Allah, the reasoning power of Allah. Jesus means justice. Reasoning power is justice. So he was here to bring that reasoning power through Noble Drew Ali of who we are. That was the only way that we was going to receive justice. Islam.
Islam.
82. Was Satan to be bound then?
Satan was to be bound in part.
83. When was the head of Satan taken off?
1453
84. By whom?
Eisenhower.
85. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774.
Negro,
black,
colored,
Ethiopian.
86. Negro.
Negro. A
Nigga,
name given
nigga
to
was written in West Africa by Moors because it changed black
water.
Islam. 87. What is meant by the word black?
Black, according to science, means that.
88. What does the word colored mean?
Color means anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed.
89. What does Ethiopia mean?
Ethiopia
means something
divided.
divided.
90. Can a man be Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian?
No.
91. Why?
Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God.
92. What title did Satan give himself?
God.
Now, you see, before I said, before you realize there was two selves, you only identify yourself as one way, and more than likely, it's in the lower self way. So what title does Satan give himself? So in the lower self vibration, you don't know any other higher rap. So that Satan, that lower self spirit, becomes your entire self. That is all that you have. Islam. 93. Will you define the word white?
White means purity.
Purity means God, and God means ruler of the land.
94. To whom do we refer at times being the great God?
Allah.
95. Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah?
No, he's a shadow of our Lord self, and will pass away.
Islam. 96. Who made the devil?
Elohim.
97. Who is Elohim?
Elohim is the seven created spirits that create everything that ever was, is, and ever was to be.
Islam. 98. What is Elohim sometimes called?
The 7 eyes of Allah.
99. How many days are in a circle?
7 days.
100. How many days are in the creation?
7 days.
101. According to science, how many days are in a year?
7 days.
Islam. Is there any add-ons? Any questions about anything that we went over to discuss? No? All right. Islam, Brother Universal.
Yeah, just add on also what you were building on the plan.
Mm-hmm. The developed thought.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A plan is also an organization or something organized.
Islam.
So as an organization of more science past, that's a plan.
Well, we walked it to the front, so let's take it once from the front to the back. Let's walk it from the back to the front. So the end all was justice. Now let's backtrace justice. Like you said, a plan is an organization, right? What is a he put the thought into flesh, which is organs, which is an organization. Islam. Like not walking back again, that's the organs. Now, what was a planned thought? Like Allah he had a planned thought, because what other way that he was going to wake us up, right? So he had a developed plan, right? And put it into Juali, which is also Jesus, and Jesus means what? That was the universal justice for us, Islam. And with that being said, I conclude and I'll bring up, Islam, Brother Flying Go.
I just wanted to add on to what you were saying about chapter 74.
Mm-hmm.
What did the higher self say to the lower self?
At one time when he met him.
Mm-hmm.
And what that meant to me was, I'm thinking that because of the fall of creation and fall of man, when the higher self, because since the higher self is Allah and man, and also is the truth and all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when what did he say to him? What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? Where you going, Satan?
Mm-hmm.
I think that my thought is that when man was falling or debasing himself from Allah, that happened at that point when he was asking him, where you going, Satan?
Mm-hmm.
I think that in chapter 1, the creation and fall of man, that's where he was actually talking about.
Islam.
Where you going, Satan? Because that was the beginning. I mean, the
start is Islam. Islam. Gratitude.
Islam.
Gratitude most of my demonstration. With that being said, I would bring up Sheikhs of the Temple, Sheikhs Nika El Bay. Islam.
Islam.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Islam, Moors. Islamism. Again, as always, I rising in praises to Allah, the great God of the universe, honest to his noble divine prophet, and honest to you all, honest to the Moorish Science Temple of America, honest to our posterity, and honest where honors due, honest to self-Islam. How's everyone today? On this Sunday. Islam. So I want to begin by going back to the beginning. And what I mean by beginning is our first entry, because we all here for a purpose. We all have a common purpose why we all chose to come together and gather today on Sunday here in the Moorish Science Temple of America. But we all had a humble beginning, an entry, and that was we applied to the Moorish Science Temple of America. That was our first step. We showed an interest, a petition to join a Moorish Science Temple of America. For whatever reason, we all came on different points of entry for different reasons, but we all came to the point of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam? And so I just want to go back to the entry point and what it means and what the Prophet was trying to do for why he even organized this divine national movement in the first place, and how we all share a common thread, a common idea being here. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali speaks to the nations, and he says he needs strong men and women. I'm going to jump around only because I want to make a point and show a picture. If you don't already have it, most of us have that understanding, but just to paint the picture on what that was. He said, if you have race pride and you love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race because you know who you are and who your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. So what is your idea, understanding of the word join? What does it mean to join?
Islam means to make one, become a part of.
Right. To unite, to form one group, one entity, one nation, one, to join, to connect, right? To bind, right? Islam.
To make one.
To make one.
Some people say, you want to join my team? Sounds like we all become one.
We become one. One focused energy, one focused thought, one focused goal, intention. We become one. So we join to become one with the Moorish Science Temple of America, to become one with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Because he says, you must imitate me by what? By my words, my deeds, my thoughts, what I represent, what I stand for, my principles, right? During his time here, his activity over the Moorish Science Temple of America collectively, there's proclamations and writings and things that he put forth, he deemed it necessary because Moors didn't have an understanding of what the movement was really dedicated to. And as a reminder, he gave us this proclamation that must be read at each meeting, and I'm going to read it. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the street. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. I mean, we've all heard this before, but we are for love, truth, peace, and freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice then must take its course. I want you to keep in mind, right? Moorish divine and national movement. Moorish divine, they're conjoined. They're one. You can't separate the national and the divine. And is a conjunction. It joins the two. So the whole of this movement is divine and national. Islam?
Islam.
Okay. So this is why the Prophet speaks clearly on the principles and the morality of the Moors. He says you must proclaim the nationality, but he didn't stop there. He gave us a moral catechism, a moral understanding on how we should behave, how we should think. Islam?
Islam.
So, and when these principles are violated, justice then must take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet. You know that term malice, malicious? That's a really deep term, or to charge someone with malice. That's willful intent to do harm to another, to cause harm to another's property or to that another person. So people must have had some malicious feelings, deep-rooted feelings toward the prophet. And when we know the history of the Moorish Science Temple, we understand the stories that support why he came out with this proclamation. And will it be hold true today that still there's some people who still may have those malicious feelings? Prophet's not here no more, but to the temple. Okay. And violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card, button, cease wearing their turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet in the temple. The end of time is drawing near now, so said Allah to his holy and divine prophet, our Noble Drew Ali. That's the reason why many hearts has turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but can't see, have ears to hear but can't hear. At least they will be concerned about their sins. These are the trying hours, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving now. They are trying every weak mind to tear down and drag out the true foundation which has been laid by me, the prophet. But if you have love of Allah in your hearts and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not nothing you hear or see, but will sacrifice to the utmost of your very life to protect your prophet and your movement. Why? Because this is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sins. Islam? Islam. I just reading this, I want you to hear the plea. I want you to hear the plea. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they would be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. Right? So when we talked about how we apply coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America, a lot of us don't really understand what that entails, right? You just know from what you were told, right? And so when you come into the Moorish Science Temple of America, this is why the laws are read, right? To give you an understanding what the requirement is for every member. The Divine Constitutional Bylaws outlaws the members' duties. The Moorish Guide literature, some writings that he has, explains a member's responsibilities and duties within the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? That's the law. That's what binds us together. That is the law, the constitution of of coming together. So when you say, I want to join the Moorish Science Temple of America, you are accepting in full life with willful conscious intent the responsibilities of what it means to be a member. So you don't get to pick and choose what parts of the prophet and its teachings are right for the redemption of yourself or other people, because it's already set forth of what those things are. Okay? And prophet said, all authority and power of the Moorish Science Temple of America is vested in a prophet Noble Drew Ali. So let me change the word here. All authority and power of the Moorish Americans are vested in a prophet Noble Drew Ali. So that means that if you are a Moorish American, then your authority and power is Noble Drew Ali, or the Moorish Science Temple of America. Right? Islam? The Moorish Science Temple, the prophet has the authority and power to expel any officer or member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And he talks about, in the divine warning by the prophet for the nations, he explains how, because of our sinful ways, right? One, not being in honor of our descent, giving honors to our forefathers by name and principles, right? Taking on the names that allude to slavery. Right? And then he also talks about the morality, the consciousness of the people who chose to stray after the gods of things that were outside of themselves and practicing, right, the deeds of the lower self, or what it breeds. Hatred, slander, lewdness, theft, murders, and everything that harms. So the reason why the Prophet Noble really gave us the Holy Quran and Moorish Science Temple is a template for our morality, right? Is to teach us how we are supposed to be upright men and women, because we didn't necessarily have those laid out for us, right? So he gave us a prescription, right, of how to deal with the morality and the consciousness of our minds and how to become a clean and pure nation again, right? Because you can't just follow national guidelines without having some rule of action over yourself. Right? So you must have a rule of action if you are to govern yourself or others. So maybe perhaps this is one of the reasons why we stagnated or in retrograde as this movement, is because we are following after the national principles, but not implementing the morality, the spirituality in our day-to-day. You can't have one without the other. And I always say constitutionally, the Constitution only represents the spirit of the law and how others and people should be governed. But really, it's spiritual because it's universal laws. You can't lie to the universal laws, because as a man thinketh, so shall it be. Okay? So if you want something divine to represent you, if you want the law to represent you, then you must be a representation of that. So we say, let our documents precede us. You are your document. Your actions supposed to be in harmony with that precedence. And it's no different. So for us to be a clean and pure nation, we have to live according to the divine divinity of our movement, enforce the Holy Quran and our teachings, learn to love instead of hate. He talks about earthquakes and diseases, and it's no wonder. And this is just not Moorish Americans, this is all people globally. The prophet was a universal prophet. The teachings that he brought us could be applied universally. Just like why we honor all divine and true prophets, because the messages, they are the same. Right? It's the messages of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and how to enlighten and save a people from themselves, really, to uplift fallen humanity. Noble Drew Ali was a lifter of fallen humanity. He not only gave us the process in order to do so, but he gave us the right to do it because we're in our proper status. And so he says, In his Caveat Emptor, he mentions how men are upright, Moors and men are upright, independent, and fearless who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny that is not unknown or uncertain. And it says, Prophet Noble Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. Now, horde can be applied to an Asian nomad group, but he said Moorish horde. A horde is a group of people, sort of like, what do you call it? When you have a group of people who are not governed. Islam, go ahead.
Nomad.
No, that's well, it's Asian. He made when you use the term horde, it's make a reference to it more likely Mongolian Asian. But he didn't. He qualified it. He said Moorish hordes. So that's a group of people, a large group, a multitude, a number, a crowd of people. He said as they increase here in America. So what he's telling us is that there's going to be a large group of Moors who are just hordes here in America. They're not really a part of this Moorish divine and national movement. I used to be a Moorish horde at one time in my beginning when I didn't really understand where the seat of power is vested in Moorish Science Temple of America. I came in and I understood certain principles, but I didn't really understand. I didn't take my place in the affairs of men. I had my nationality, but it wasn't through the Moorish Science Temple of America. But I had it consciously, but not proclaimed it officially, you know. So I accepted it, I claimed it, but it wasn't official. And a lot of us come into this movement and don't realize that we are the same Moorish hordes that the prophet is talking about. How where you have a multitude of Moors that have increased here in America, but are not within the Moorish Science Temple and have not chosen Noble Ali to be invested.
Wow.
And this is what he was talking about. To be a Moorish American, Noble Ali has to be the vested. He has to be the one that you bestow your power and authority to. That's what being a Moorish American is. That's what take your place in the Moorish divine national movement is about. Anything outside of that is really malice. Islam? So I give thanks, I give praises to Allah that I am where I am within the Moorish Science Temple. But if we don't be careful, if we don't correct this body we have, this grand body issue that we have, we will all continue to be Moorish hordes. Because reality is we are all Moorish hordes until we correct and fix this divine problem that we have with this grand body. So this has to be corrected with the hope of us uniting and becoming one. So we are vanguards, but we have to correct this problem because otherwise the Moorish hordes will increase here in America, as it has. Islam? Islam. That concludes my lesson. Islam. I would like to call to the altar our Grand Sheikh Divine Minister, Lord Noble Nature Albay. Islam.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Rise giving perfect praise to Allah, the great God of the universe. Giving honors to our noble prophet, Noble Ali, the savior of humanity. Giving honor to all true and divine prophets. Giving honors to all Moorish Americans to heed the words of the warning. Islam?
Islam.
Islam. Islam. I want to give special honors to Sheikh Nika El Bey, bringing forth that, I will call that a divine warning as well. Islam. And actually, I want to camel back off her lesson, because it's not just her lesson, but it's all of our lesson. Islam. It pertains to the mission of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Every organization, every government, every movement has what they either call an agenda or a mission. And that's important to view it like how Sheikh Sneaker put it, because by joining the Moorish Science Temple of America, it's an umbrella or Rotarian complexion, if you will, of what comes along with that. What are we joining? Now, what are we're proclaiming our nationality and our religion. But what else is unraveled within that picture is what we need to look at and understand before we do such of an act. So I just want to camel back off some things that she mentioned and maybe some things that she didn't mention. But the agenda is what we want to focus on. If we look at the charter of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the organic charter, it stipulates to initiate and to consecrate missionaries of the Prophet Ali in America. So as I stated before, to initiate and to consecrate missionaries. So that means in order to have a missionary, that means you have to have a mission. You know, it's nothing, we hear the term missionary because it's used by religious institutions the most. We think missionary, we think religion, and we think it's something that a religion puts somebody up to doing. And we give it that supreme thought, and that's where we leave it. And missionary necessarily doesn't have anything to do with that dogmatic thought pattern. But the term missionary is the act of a mission. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali had a mission. He created the Moorish Science Temple in the Divine and National Movement. I won't even say he created the Moorish Divine and National Movement because that's everlasting. But he reinstituted it, reformatted it in our language, in our society, so that we can participate with our old time and everlasting movement. But he had a mission. The movement has a mission. The Moorish Science Temple of America is referred to as the organization of the nation. So that means that the organization referred to as the Moorish Science Temple of America has a mission. He said, if you have race pride and love your race, then join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of the movement. So you become a part of the movement, i.e. the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the world. That's what it says on the charter, right?
Yes.
So according to Noble Drew Ali's words, to become a part of the movement, he says you join the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's how you become a part of the movement. So by becoming a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you simultaneously become a part of the Moorish Divine and National Movement of, again, the world, which is physical world, and the spiritual or metaphysical world as well. That's another lesson. So there's an intent, there's a mission, there's a preamble that goes along with this Moorish Science Temple of America and this Moorish Divine and National Movement. And because he referred to it as the organization of the nation is referred to as our free nation, And the name, which is referred to in literature as our free national name, so the nation is Moorish American. Our free national name is Moorish American. It's not our individual name. So the Moorish American nation is how it's referred to as. The participants or the members of that nation have a nationality referred to as Moorish American. That's how we're Moorish Americans. We're descendants of Moroccans born in America that constitutes the name Moorish American. So I'm just highlighting and outlining the parts here that constitutes what a nation is. Now, in order to set up or in order to be recognized as a legal nation, there have to be some things to satisfy that, which is referred to as national standards. National standards constitutes a nation. Quote, Drew Ali, are giving you everything it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself, which means that interpretation. If he gave us everything it takes to save a nation and he's telling you to take that, then that means that there was a nation that exists prior to him saving it, which means that he resurrected a nation. He didn't create a nation. Islam? So the idea that Noble Drew Ali started a nation, that's incorrect. That's very important for us challenging claims and countering claims, because they always want to make it seem their counterclaim to us is this is something new. And we don't acknowledge or recognize this because this is something new. And that's where you got to counter that, because this is nothing new. We're proclaiming a nationality or reclaiming a nationality, which means that I've always had a nationality. I lost it through some certain statutory processes, but I always had it. And collectively as a nation, we always had it. So it's not like that this is a new nationality or like we just stumbled upon a nationality. This is rightfully so a nationality that's always existed, especially prior to this new administration of government that was formed in 1787 that had something to do with me losing my nationality. You understand where I'm going with it? Islam, sorry.
Just a question: is it true that Noble Drew Ali was the first Moorish American?
No, and I'm going to explain that because that's interpretation and perception again. The game doesn't change, just the name. Meaning that the nationality of the Moorish nation have always existed. But the name as Moorish American did not always exist. So when Noble Drew Ali established or resurrected our nation, our old time nation, and our old time religion, he chose the name Moorish American as the resurrected name of the Moroccan nation. So you can't have a nation by yourself. So he was not the first Moorish American, as your question asks. In order to constitute a nation, according to constitutional and international laws, that you have to have a certain amount of people to present and to be recognized as such. So you can't be a nation by yourself. So that means that he was not the first, because he cannot be a nation by himself. That's why the Moorish nation did not get established until 1928. But remember, they started originally formatting in 1913. starting from Newark, New Jersey, and transitioning all the way to the Midwest of Chicago, which became the new Mecca. But during all those decades, we still wasn't recognized as a nation because there wasn't enough political members to constitute it, and the national standards wasn't all met according to international law. So from 1913 to 1928, we was not recognized as a nation of Moorish American. Not that they wasn't meeting and doing things and acting like a nation, but it didn't meet the international requirements until 1928. So all of the prep work that was being done was to reestablish and to resurrect the nation. So all of the old Moors from 1913 to 1928 were considered like the founding fathers and the forerunners for our resurrected nation known as Moorish America. Islam? So Islam. So moving forward, Cam will back off of Sheikah's Nika's demonstration. Process. Procedure and process is everything when we're dealing with government, citizenship, especially nationality. I'm going to go back to Act 6. With us, question, who's us? Islam. Members. Islam. I got you, Islam. With us indicates members. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. Islam Sheikh, can you give me assistance? Look up the word proclaim, please. Can you get it in there and look at it in here?
I got it.
If you can do both, Islam. I'm good. I'll get some tea. Islam. With us, all members must proclaim. Proclaim. Pro meaning for, claim, for the claim. So proclaiming means that we are to foreclaim, proclaim. Take the word pro away. We are to claim. So now we just need to understand what the word claim means, or proclaim, which, brother, legally, the lawful or legal definition, Brother Omar is going to look that up. While he does that, Islam.
Islam proclaims is Black's Law Dictionary, 7th edition. Proclaim, verb, to declare formally or officially.
To declare formally or officially. Officially, the root word officially means official, or to officiate, which is all the same word. But this is very important because we need to understand what the law is. You're talking law and procedure or law and order. All right, so this is Moorish law and order.
Islam. So we have the Webster's New 20th Century Dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
Right, this is a little, give you a different vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Proclaim, a proclamation, a calling out. Pro, before, and clamere, to cry out. Mm-hmm. To make known by public announcement.
Mm-hmm. Repeat that, please.
To make known by public announcement.
All right, Islam, I'm going to stop you there for a minute. With us, all members must proclaim. So that means that according to just the one thought you have so far, is to make a public announcement. So now you take public announcement, put it in Act 6. With us, all members are to make a public announcement. That's one thought. Continue.
Islam. Continuation or continuance. Mm-hmm. To announce, to declare, to publish.
With us, all members are to publish. Islam.
To outlaw by public denunciation.
Islam.
A proclamation, a calling out. One who announces publicly.
One who announces publicly. So the concept, only for those who don't know, and those coming in, with us, we make public announcements. With us, we publish. And what are we publishing? Our nationality, our free national name, and our religion. So other things that's going to come upon that too. But I'm just throwing that out just for starters. And we are teaching our people what? Their nationality. So stop. So Act 6, as a minimum requirement, we are to publish. To publish, we are to declare, right? We make a public announcement of our nationality. And then once we do that, now the obligation also stipulates that we are to teach our people, not the ones that's already in it, but our people collectively out there. We are to teach our people their nationality and what? And their divine creed. Islam? Was your hand up more?
Yes.
Islam.
Same is also information of a notice.
A public notice.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. But again, you're 100% right. But what I want the vibration to be is when someone thinks proclaim, I want them to think public and publish. Because public and publish in an etymology sense is pub, which pub means people. So when you proclaim, it has everything to do with people, not just singular as not something I'm doing. Like somebody say, well, I know who I am. Well, that's not good enough. Because if we don't know who you are, then it's not proclaimed. Islam?
I just wanted to say that automatically brought me to like the proclamation document itself of a published document we took and put it out to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Public announcement. We took a publishment and put it out for the public.
Absolutely. To cry out loud. Islam, so to speak. Islam. Islam. You already rose,
okay.
so
All right.
you don't have to say it again. Islam. That's
no
all
more.
peace.
Because I'll be like, that public thing,
Mm-hmm.
like when you claim your nationality and all that, and it's public.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times in the system, they'll pretend like they don't know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
but I did something and it showed that they do know who you are once it's public.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know that commercial about AARP and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, check this out. I sent in, because actually I don't have a straw man,
Mm-hmm.
but even though they might put all that stuff in all capital letters, but they have to go from the state
Mm-hmm.
birth certificate for actually to legally and lawfully do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I filled out the AARP thing and my, what they would say, government name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I put. I didn't put, Gerali, Israel. I didn't put that. I just put Gina, Patrice, my
Mm-hmm.
other name. When it came in the mail, it had 2 cards.
Mm-hmm.
One in my birth name
Mm-hmm.
and one in the proclaim name.
Mm-hmm.
It came from Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait a minute now. What record y'all looking at? Because I didn't put that on the application. I only put
Mm-hmm.
the Gina.
Mm-hmm.
But I got 2 cards. I'm gonna bring them the next time. I'm telling, it had the Moorish name and it had the.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying
That
how
was bait.
once it's public and they fake like they don't know who you are.
Yeah,
But they sent me that and say, look, we know who you are.
absolutely. Now let's look at the beauty. Thank you for that. Let's look at the beauty of that. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what should be done, meaning that it should be in their system. So the fact that it's in the system means that it was done correctly. The problem is if they couldn't find nothing else in the system.
Right.
So again, our so-called government name is the name that the government acknowledges you by. That's what a government name should be.
Islam.
So we understand that we've been taught that the government name was the straw man. But whatever name you're doing